Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, head down into the show notes. I'm going to include all of the links that we'll be talking about today, to the apps, to the website, different things that we're going to talk about. But first, I'd like to thank you, fellowship ring bearers, for helping us bring the watch hours and the subscribers on YouTube up to Mount Doom. And we have now been thrown into the money-burning furnace of YouTube.
Right. We're going to start earning hundredths of pennies.
Yeah,
we're so excited.
We saw our chart. It was hundredths of a penny. So it was wonderful. Thank you guys so much for letting us get across that threshold. It was a kind of a, when we first started doing the YouTube thing, we didn't know what we were going to kind of do with it. We were just throwing the podcast up there, and it has really turned into, a little thing for us. And so
it's been fun.
We're excited. Well, thank you guys who listen on YouTube. We see you, we see the numbers, we see your comments. We really appreciate that. And thank you guys for watching our videos on YouTube and that we put out as well. And we're going to continue to put out more. We're going to record some tomorrow night and start putting stuff up for the ancient histories. So we appreciate you guys for that and all the support you guys have given us. So we know we're in the doldrums of summer and you guys are out busy doing things, and you're listening to our podcast late night, when the sun is up late and you guys are out walking and stuff. Maybe you're listening to the podcast, so we appreciate it so much. So today we're going to talk a little bit about assessment. Assessment is a big thing now that we have kind of gotten out of our early learning years with the preschoolers and the kindergartners, and we now have this kind of just finished first grader, and now we're thinking about second and third grade, and our horizon is starting to see more rigor. And we've talked a little bit about that on last couple episodes, is we're starting to think about, an independent learner, thinking about a child who is now starting to learn things and starting to be expected to remember things and not just be experiencing, like fun, like around the world journey stuff. And there's some expectations now. And what comes with the expectations is to validate what you've learned. And, that's the biggest thing that you always remember is, like, you're in school, you're taught something, and then they have to validate that you actually have it in your brain. Having our children learn things and remember things is a thing going forward. And so talking a little bit about assessment, we ran into kind of a quasi-assessment issue this year.
Yeah, we did. Our assessments are part of, in Washington State, something we have to do every year. And our school used the iReady assessments. Yep. And I think we talked about it a little bit on the podcast before. It was an assessment system that they used. It was voluntary, but, we're all about supporting our parent partnership and helping them get more funding and things. So we said, okay, we'll do it. And our problem was that it was an adaptive assessment. So it starts below grade, and as your child gets answers correct, it goes on grade, and then it just keeps going. And there was no cutoff. It didn't just go one grade up, it just kept going. And so our child was in tears while her friend down the street was also in tears doing this at the same time, while our child went all the way to middle school math and then couldn't get anything right. Of course, it was middle school math and was, having a really hard time. Her friend, also first grade, ends up getting into Longfellow's Paul Revere's Ride through answering a couple of questions that she didn't know the answer to, and she guessed correctly, and it all of a sudden ramped her up. And then
it didn't have an I don't know option in the questions,
which is, I think it's unconscionable. You got to have an I don't know. And one of the problems is once it got to this new level, even if you kept getting things wrong, it stayed there for a bit. So the kids really took a hit to their confidence. And so it's one of the things that we realized, this isn't a good assessment system. And an adaptive test like this might be really great for older students who can understand the concept, but it wasn't really great for our young learner. No. So we wanted to find something that wasn't adaptive.
And it was also tough because they're emerging readers, and for them reading text on a screen,
that's a test in and of itself.
Yeah, I know. Just being able to do that, and then also then having questions about it. And it wasn't a short text. It was multiple pages of text.
Yeah, it was a long process.
And it's a difficult thing for them right now. And
we were DNFs, man. We didn't finish it. Our friends didn't finish it.
We DNF'd it.
We were like,
did not finish.
No, not good.
Yeah.
Wasn't the right thing for us. So assessments is a big part of every year. You may have a state requirement that you need to do an assessment. You may just want to do an assessment so that you know where your child is at. There's various ways to do that. You can, get your own, ending test, right? You can take each curriculum, for example, Math Mammoth, which we're going to talk about this week, that has various chapter tests, and then there is a final test. You can use that final test as your assessment. In our state, we have to do an assessment, and we need to be. The results need to be shared with us, but we don't need to share them with the state.
Yeah.
Because we're in a parent partnership, we're outside of those rules, so we don't really have to do it that way. But typically an assessment can be something that you perform, unless your state doesn't allow that. Otherwise, if it's something you need someone else to perform, there are online assessments that you can just purchase. You can go into testing centers in different states, and you can look up local ways to do assessments. You can meet with a certified teacher at a tutoring center or other location with your school district, and you can meet with them and have them assess your child. There's multiple ways to go about the assessment. I think that the important thing is figure out what your goal is with the assessment. Are you just trying to check the box for the state? Or are you really trying to get at the core of like, I think there's a learning problem with XYZ, right? With our daughter, we felt that there was a reading. Maybe she was struggling with reading. We actually didn't know because this assessment was terrible. So we ended up seeking out a teacher at our parent partnership and asking for an in-person reading assessment.
And they do that. They do that as a kind of a free service to parents who request it.
Exactly. I believe they do it with math as well. We didn't ask about math.
We just don't need it. No.
But yeah, so that was one thing we could go after, and you can go after a similar type of assessment. So you have to know what your state requires. This is all about your own state standards. And then if you need to get, an official, I'm using air quotes, type of assessment, you can look for various services online and in person that you can look to get that done. And your local, whatever your state is, homeschooling organization, like our Washington Homeschool Organization, they're great about providing info on where to find an assessment. So if it's something that you're looking for to fulfill a state requirement, they are super helpful. And if it's something you're looking for just to fulfill your own questions about your learner's progress in a certain subject matter, then you can either take final curriculum tests or find other free assessments online and use those. So the thing that we decided to do after this horrible assessment situation, we wanted our daughter to kind of get used to taking online assessments, because next year, she'll be old enough, she'll actually start taking the real state test, I believe, or maybe it's 3rd grade. Anyway, we wanted her to feel like, start understanding what it was going to be like to sit down and take a test that's not given by mom or dad. And so we grabbed IXL.
Exactly. And going back to like just your point before we get into the IXL, another element of it is, we have the requirements from the state or your school district or, whatever you may have. Another element of it too is I want to know how, if my child is, at the grade level, and we know grade level doesn't matter as much in homeschooling, but it does matter because if, you're thinking about maybe going back to school, the regular schools are going back into a private school system. If homeschooling is temporary for you, you may want to is my child at grade level? You want to be answering those questions. For me, what I was looking more for is I just wanted to know if also on my side of it, am I teaching her the right things? Is she retaining the right information? Am I doing a good enough job in helping to answer the, am I doing enough type of thing?
Yeah, I would
that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I would question the, are you teaching the right, quote unquote, correct, information? I think that's really subjective. I certainly wouldn't want parents to get bogged down in thinking that these assessments have all the answers, because they certainly do not. I think, we interviewed an unschooling dad last year, and he said, if I teach my kids to read, and they love reading, like, I feel like that's his biggest thing. Like for him, that was all he needed for his family, because he felt like from there they can learn anything if they're really strong readers and like to read. And so, your family may have a different litmus test, but definitely be cautious about, taking the test too seriously. Because here's the thing. I'm going to go on my soapbox, my little tiny shoebox soapbox for like 1 minute. public schools teach to standardized tests every day. That's all they do, right? I mean, I'm being super cynical here, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Most of where they get their funding is based on standardized test scores. So they work extremely hard every year to teach those students for that test. And yet we still have students who are not able to read in high school, who are dropping out, who are failing, who are several grades below in math. So just because they've been taught to the test and to pass the test certainly is not any kind of gold standard about, hey, they're doing great as far as their actual learning and retained knowledge goes. So that's my mini soapbox, to just take these assessments with a little grain of salt. And if you feel like something's not right, maybe look into a different assessment, or look deeper into it, because these are just made by folks, and your child may not be a great test taker, or the test itself may be greatly flawed, like the ones that our children took. So be real cautious with getting too wrapped up in the assessment.
I agree. I'm always like kind of wondering, like, I was always asking the question, if my daughter's ahead of her grade level, I'm fine. It's like I'm doing enough. She's ahead of grade level. That means she's learning more than what she needs to know. And I'm doing
by someone's standard.
By somebody's standard. At the base, the median standard, which is the public education system, Common Core, what does a first grader need to know type of standard.
Right.
I know she's ahead in math, so I'm not worried about that. I don't sweat bullets on that one. Reading was the one I kind of wanted to know where she was. Like, I'm, towards the end of All About Reading level 2, what does that equate to grade level? And we didn't really know. And we went into our parent partnership where they have this kind of take-home curriculum, and on the wall they have this great, what your child should know by the grade level. And I was looking at the math one, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing.
It's so clear.
And then I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm like, where's the reading one? And I ask him, I go, where's the reading one? He goes, oh, there's no reading one.
Oh yeah, it's so subjective. We looked at the Common Core standards for reading, and we were like, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not.
The math is so black and white. It's like, can you do place value? Can you add these? Are you carrying?
Yeah.
Are you borrowing for subtraction? Are you doing decimal places? Are you starting to do fractions? Do you know the geometries? And it's like, oh, that's so easy. I can just check off what she knows. They did not have a corresponding chart for reading. It was not. Nope. It was not intuitive there, and that started getting me thinking. Like almost 4 or 5 months ago, I went, wow, how do I know where she is? How do I know if she's doing well enough?
And you can certainly do assessments with, like, All About Reading has assessments before each level. So you could do that. You can go through other curricula that has tests and kind of take those tests, or you can find a program. For us, we had heard about IXL, and we thought, let's try this. This will give us a way to do some teaching and some assessment, and we can really track her progress. And maybe it'll give us a better sense, because we just really felt like reading was this nebulous thing.
It is.
Which I think it is a really nebulous thing.
It's a black box. Like you don't know what you're looking at, and you don't know what you're getting out.
And those leveled readers are such a joke, because they're like, oh, this is a level 1. And you see words in there that you're like, this is not, you cannot phonetically figure this out.
She hasn't learned that letter combo in All About Reading yet, or that
right. And this is supposed to be the lowest level of leveled readers. Those are so frustrating and maddening. But we thought, let's give this a try, and we've had some really good success with it. So tell them all about IXL.
So we went ahead and chose IXL. We're not paid. There's no ad or anything. This is just us using
nothing.
it. We get nothing.
We get nothing.
We get nothing, and you pay for it.
Yeah, we're unbiased reviewers.
So one of the things is that I liked about IXL right out the bat is that it covers K through 12. And I wanted that because I wanted to be able to select the grade, and because grade level was the important defining factor. And I said, okay, great. I'll be able to select first grade, second grade, third grade. They don't keep you to just one grade. So if you have a first grader who's reading at a third grade level, and you have a first grade math level, you're not paying separate. They allow you to just choose the discipline and then choose the grade level that you want to test at. So they don't make you pay for the grade level. It's dynamic. It's all you can eat type of stuff. So I liked that element of it. And we did not do the math section of this because I know she's ahead in math.
Yeah,
so
we've previewed it though, so we can talk about it. And we have this on a tablet for our daughter. That's the primary method that we're using for it.
Yeah, so it does K through 12. That was awesome. It covers English language arts, math, science, social studies, and Spanish. So if you're out there thinking, oh, I'd like to add some, science or, Spanish or some social studies stuff, these are options as well to do kind of an online option there. So I like that, but we didn't actually review the science or the social studies. We stayed mainly with the math and the English language
And is
arts.
it teaching and assessing?
It is. And it basically, way IXL does is they basically have these high level themes. And within the themes, there's modules. And so a theme could be like, for example, consonants and vowels. And within that, there are 2 modules that you can do, like sort consonants by vowels and find the vowel in a word. And so these are activities that you can do where they ask you a bunch of questions. And then in each level, like for example, the reading level for the first grade has, I think it's almost 30 or 40 themes, and underneath them has a varying number of modules. Some have 2, some have 3, some have like 8 or 9 or 10 modules based on the concept that they're trying to teach. And then at the end, they have a bunch of reading comprehension options. And so as you move through, you can kind of go top to bottom in difficulty. So as they layer on the new concepts, things get progressively more difficult, more complicated, and they pull in previous learning as you do the module. When you get into a module, it's roughly about 20 to 25 questions. And what you're doing, the student essentially, whether it's online through a web browser or on a tablet, I think they support phones as well. So if you want to do it on your phone as well, essentially there's like a window, and there are, some question, and there may be even an image that's there. And they have these little buttons that you can hit on the side where the app will read you what it wants, whether it's the instructions or the word. Like, for example, if they're saying, find the vowel in this word, and you click on it and it reads that to you, find the vowel in this word. So your student can actually click and actually get the instructions for them. And then they would say, click on the second one, which is reading them the word like cat. And then, okay, so they've heard cat. And then they have all these little options where you can click and hear the different vowel sounds like ah, o. And then they can click on the right vowel, the vowel sound, and they go ahead and hit submit. And then, hey, terrific, you got the right answer. And it'll take you through about 20 of these, 25 of these, depending on how long the module is. It can take anywhere between like 10 to 15 minutes to do a module. Once they're done, they get completed, and you get like a little reward, and it gives you the status of how many questions. If you got something wrong, no big deal. They'll just give you another question. There's not this negative reinforcement there, so it's all positive reinforcement. The only negative reinforcement is there's a progress bar on the top as they are doing the problems, one problem at a time, but there's a progress bar up at the top. And if they get something wrong, they go back a little. So it's like a percentage, like, oh, they're up to like 65%. They get one wrong, they kind of go down to 60%. So they've got to do more problems to show mastery before they can move on.
I like that, though, that it adapts to add extra problems if you need to.
Exactly. And that's really nice. And then at the end, there's kind of this like exciting moment where you've crossed like 90% and you got 3 more questions, and it's this big countdown. It's kind of a fun, like kind of interactive thing. This is nowhere near as exciting as, say, like a Khan Academy or like a PBS Kids app type of thing that we've talked about in the past. This is more very just schoolwork, workbooky, digital workbook experience when it comes to doing the problems, learning the concepts, answering questions. There's not animations. There's not a talking bear that talks to you or anything like this. So it can be a little bit less flashy. But I can tell you, our daughter loves it.
She's super into it, you guys.
She is super into it. And it's kind of funny because actually while there's a lot of positive reinforcement, if she starts getting some problems wrong, she starts to like get really upset. She's like,
not in a bad way.
She's like, oh, I got it wrong. I got to get it right. Because her goal is, she goes, I want to get 25 out of 25 every single time.
She's a little bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
You may have to watch this with your kids because there is that little bit of like wanting to get all the stars type of thing. But our daughter really does enjoy it.
She really does. And what's really nice about it is I'm using it as a review and also mastery. So I'm not using this as my leading curriculum because I'm still doing all about reading. I'm using this as an additional thing that I ask her to do that she can do on her own. She can put her headphones on. She can drive it herself. I literally don't have to say
This
anything.
is very independent, which is
Very,
which
very
is a big
independent.
selling
and
point.
this is
for
something
this.
that we've been talking about. Yeah.
Right, because it has those buttons where it will read the prompts. I really, some of the curriculum stuff I kind of hate because it can't be so independent because they can't read at that level yet.
Exactly.
But that's not, the reading of the problem isn't the exercise they want them to focus on. They want them to focus on, finding consonants or something, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that it can read it to her if she can't read the prompt herself means it is a totally independent experience, which I really appreciate.
The funny thing too is that she actually is starting to read along with the prompts, and so she's actually
It's actually kind of helpful.
It's actually kind of getting. It's almost like a read along in some respects, and she likes it for that reason as well. Cool thing about this as well is that it can support more than one student. So if you have one child who, say, is in first grade and another child who is in fourth grade, you can just switch between the profiles. I think you have to pay for more kids, but it's not like an additive thing. There's a discount with more kids because they support up to classroom level of usage. So this can get rolled out into classrooms that have 30 or 40 kids. So they support multiple users. So if you have a family or if you have students who you want to, do science with one kid and math and reading with another, they totally support that. It's very easy to switch between the various disciplines. When we had the math and English language, it's just like a little switch on the top, and then you can choose your grade, and it's just like a drop down menu, and you just say third grade math, and then it just shows you nothing but third grade math. Super easy to navigate. Our 7-year-old daughter opens the app and drives herself. So it's really easy to use, really intuitive.
We use it as like a quick thing. She has her quiet time every afternoon where she does her audiobooks and does her Lego, or sometimes she'll play a tablet game, and we say, hey, I want you to do 2 modules of IXL first. And she's like, no problem. Yeah. She goes and takes care of that, has this quick review. She's feeling a huge sense of accomplishment after having such a negative experience with that iReady assessment that she had to take with school. This has been such a positive reinforcement situation for her. Even though she is, bordering on that perfectionism a little bit. We have to watch that.
I do have to watch for that.
Overall, she's enjoying. She gets little badges and little certificates. Yeah, at this point, it's like she's answered 1,000 language arts questions.
Well,
I keep getting these emails.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of nice as a parent because I don't have to actually go check the app. I'm actually getting progress emails
In
about
real
what's
time,
going on. So I know what she's working on. I know how long she spent on it. So I really appreciate that. And the other thing I appreciate is that this is pretty affordable.
It's not that bad. Yeah. So if you're looking at, say, one subject, you're roughly about $10 a month. And if you buy the annual plan, it's, I think, $80 for a year for one subject. Now, if you get 2 subjects like math and language arts, you're looking at $16 a month or $130 for the entire year.
That's like Netflix prices.
That's like Netflix type of stuff. And if you think about how much you could end up using this, you could use this daily for about 20 to 30 minutes.
Well, and we're looking at this specifically as a stopgap until she gets to Khan Academy. So right now, Khan Academy Kids is one app, and it has a bunch of great activities. And we love Khan Academy Kids. If you have not checked that out yet, please check it out. It's great. But regular Khan Academy, which is totally free and has a bunch of subjects, doesn't start until
2nd grade for English language and math.
Is it 2nd? I thought it was 3rd.
It was 2nd. It was 2nd because one of them had to be done online and it wasn't rolled out in the app yet.
Oh, I see.
And so that was the reason why I chose
So anyway,
IXL.
we were thinking that we would probably use this, for a year or so, and then try our hands at the Free Khan Academy.
Yeah. And see if they,
and see if we like that.
Yeah, she may like the English language here on the IXL, and then we'll keep that, and maybe I'll do math and science on the Khan Academy app. So it's
nice though
we're
to
gonna try
have.
them out.
It's nice to have an alternate teaching method that's not just solely from you.
Exactly.
To help reinforce concepts and help her practice. Yep. So one thing I would ask you is, do you think this is something that people could use as a full curriculum if they wanted to?
Yeah, I think so. But from my standpoint with like phonics, I like the tiles, I like the cards, I like the readers.
The hands-on.
Yeah, even something as simple as the Explode the Code books, I think are way better. Like this, I really see this as a mastery thing, as a review thing. And I don't think they're using this even in a classroom setting as the curriculum.
Right.
They're using it as almost a testing level thing. Where's the progress? Where are they in the progress? Especially with some of the things that they have built into the app. For example, recommendations. So if you have a learner who is doing multiple subjects, math and reading, they can go into the recommendations section and they're just going to be thrown modules randomly. I mean, in a thoughtful manner, well thought out. So they're not just walking down the tree. They might be given level 1 of this conceptual, some concept that they're learning, and then they're going to get another level 1 module of another concept because they're related. And then they'll get the level 2 of the previous one and then the second one.
To keep it kind of interesting.
To keep it interesting. And then they'll mix the various subjects. So they'll do a math one, they'll do a reading one, so they can kind of hop back and forth so they don't get kind of bored, especially if you're doing multiple subjects. So I can see them using that in the classroom. Like if a teacher's like, oh, it's IXL time, kids, go to the computers over there and do your IXL. They put their headphones on, they do their 2 or 3 modules, and they break and go to do something else. Like I can see how they use that in the classroom. And so if you can imagine how are you going to use it in the classroom, you could use it that way. There's also a diagnostic section where it allows you to then be tested on the material you've learned or have already previously been tested on. We haven't done any of that yet. But I've done a couple just for myself to see how it is, because I don't want to like skew my daughter's numbers or whatever the testing is. And then they'll give you basically a final exam. What is the outcome of your diagnostic?
Right, which would be great if you were looking to place your student,
exactly,
like you're not sure where they're at. So I think that if you use this, if you're thinking about doing, you're a road schooler, or you have limited space or limited budget, you could think about doing a really cheap. I think maybe one of the cheapest ways to go with language arts is to do like Explode the Code and Beyond the Code with maybe IXL for that testing component. And you're looking at something, I mean, those Explode the Code workbooks are like $9 a piece, and Beyond the Code's similar.
$8 or $9, yeah.
They're really cheap, and this is $10 a month, so there's not very much, and you can get, like you said, $80 for the year. For math, you're probably looking at either doing this for the math testing, and you could use something like Math Mammoth or Math with Confidence. Those are both like really affordable math options. So if you're out there and you're looking for really low cost options, that's kind of where I would direct you for the math and the English or reading, and how you can use IXL to kind of back that up. And I know a lot of families, especially that travel, they love things that are tablet based, and so we definitely want to share this with you. Yeah,
so IXL, I would definitely recommend it if you want to just give it a try for a month. It's one of those things where it's $10 or $12. Like we below $10 or $12 on a couple books that we're buying for like the curriculum for 3 years from now, right? So give it a try. See if your learner liked it. We did it for 30 days. We really liked it. Our daughter really liked it. And did you buy the whole year?
We haven't bought the whole year yet.
No.
We're still paying month to month, but we've been using it for about
2 months now.
Three months now.
Has it been 3 months?
Yeah,
Jeez.
It's been 3 months, and she does it every day, and we've been really enjoying it. So we wanted to share with all of you.
Absolutely.
If it's it's assessment time of year, and if this is helpful for anyone, and as a way to test and then get mastery and hear from another teacher. Sometimes it's helpful for them to not just learn from us.
So we'll end it real quick on what are we consuming. Ariel, you went to see your folks. I'm sorry. I just want to set the stage for everybody. This guy.
Not really quickly.
This guy, double thumbs. This guy has been on a vacation, a dadcation, for the last, what am I on? Day 4 or 5?
Yeah.
On day 5. I'm like that captain writing letters. It's day 14 of my journey to the land of dads. Yes, I have no kids. I didn't even have a wife for a few days.
Right. I took
that was
kids.
terrible. I missed you a lot.
Yeah.
The children, I'm looking forward to them returning in a few days.
Yeah. We're hoping my parents keep one extra day.
You were gone and you got to watch a movie. What did you enjoy?
Yeah, I went to visit my parents. They live at the beach, and so that was kind of fun. And I took the kids, and we watched a new movie on Disney Plus called Crater. It's a movie about a group of kids. I think there's 5 kids, and they live on the moon. And they end up stealing a rover to go out to this special crater location and fulfill one of the kids. His father died right in the first minute of the movie. And to fulfill kind of one of his dying wishes. And so it was a very sweet and heartfelt movie.
Yeah, it had a very deep ending.
Yeah,
in a lot of
it was
respects.
kind of deep. It was really introspective. There was a little bit of peril. There was a couple of times where the kids were in danger,
Well,
but
there's obviously a lot of talk of death and parental death.
there
so
there was nothing graphic in it. There was a couple of times where the kids were in danger, but it was nothing too horrible or terrifying. We watched it with our 4-year-old and 7-year-old, and it was quite good.
The 4-year-old hang in there?
Yeah,
liked
she
it?
was really into it because it's visually really exciting, but it had some kind of deep themes in it, some things to really think about. I think our 7-year-old was definitely, it wasn't just a throwaway kids movie. And there are so many of those, right? Where the plot's kind of, it's kind of like, it's like a made for TV type movie.
Spy Kids.
Right. And sometimes you have your, made for Disney Plus movies too, that are kind of, some of them are, less great than others. I'm looking at you, Hocus Pocus 2, or Muppets Haunted Mansion, but
phoned it in.
Yeah, they did. But this was actually really good. I think it's worth your family's time if you have kids that are interested in space. This was a very interesting movie. Definitely was not a comedy. This was more of a drama, but very well done and interesting. So we recommend Crater on Disney Plus. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!